All right, men, listen up, especially fathers. This is how you can expect to be treated in family court in California. All right, so I want to give you all an update to the family court situation. Just to recap, I've been on supervised visits since January, so that's 15 to 16 hours that we've had with my son all year. That's in the past 6 months. We've had, in that time, 6 phone calls allowed out of a potential, I think, 60 by now. And in the past 3 months, we've had no phone calls, none whatsoever, even though they're court ordered. His mom just refuses. Now, a court liaison, this guy Richard Lee, he was supposed to evaluate me and make a report to the court. He did. We'll get to that. But before the hearing on the 14th of July, I found out that my ex-wife was accusing me of like 2 crimes, I guess breaking the court order, and there's actually warrants for my arrest. So obviously I couldn't go to court or I'd be arrested, and I can't continue the supervised visits because I'll just be arrested when I show up. So she's put an end to that, and there's no contact really between my son and I, and between my youngest son and his brother. So yeah, we're all really hurting. But for the first time in this case, I was able to have an attorney appear in court, which was great. I wasn't able to appear in court because obviously they would have arrested me, so I appeared by Zoom. And at this hearing where the judge was supposed to review the report, she didn't address anything in the report relevant. So really, that she didn't review the report. She made no orders on the supervised visits, so that remains in effect. She really made no comment on when my lawyer brought up the phone calls. And when he asked for an evidentiary hearing, she said, well, I'll get back to you. You know, she was like, she wanted them to submit to the court or something, and then she was going to get back with her orders. Well, we have her orders now, the minute order from that, and I'll read you her orders. And I'll also, I can't show you the liaison's report, Richard Lee. It's confidential, but I think I can tell you what's in it. So, yeah, and in the report, basically, it's going to show you, because he got to the police reports, so it shows us what she's accusing me of on 1-5 and 224, these 2 crimes they're calling like domestic violence. And it also confirms that my son wants to see his family, and that he knows that it's the court and his mom that are blocking that from happening. He knows it. Also, interestingly, Richard Lee falsely claims that we continue to have phone contact with my son, and we don't. And I guess I'll go ahead and show you the email where I told Richard Lee that, okay? And that was a considerable amount of time before the hearing, so he knew that. So he went in and, made a false statement in court. But nobody cares. That's what family court is, right? They're not really looking for the truth there. It's just a ritual to give the impression that due process has been done so they can, steal your kids. Watch out. You can see it's coming from 7/14/2025. Here's the Honorable Judge's name. This case is regularly called for hearing, review of reports from long fact-based inquiry, and further proceedings on mother's request for order regarding visitation. The court recites the following notice posted on the court's website. Now, this is interesting. Why are they saying this? Any recording of a court proceeding held by video or teleconference, including screenshots or other audio or visual copying of a proceeding, is absolutely prohibited, consistent with the California Rules of Court. This is also confirmed in Local Rule 1.8L, and recording that applies to all proceedings, Local Rule 19.3. Requests for film or otherwise record a court proceeding. What? Requests for film or otherwise whatever, guys. Don't even make sense. Requests for film or otherwise record a court proceeding must be made to the judicial officer assigned in writing. Counsel for petitioner requests current orders remain in place. Okay, so look, from here to here, they just went on about some nonsense about we can't record. Nobody requested to record. Nobody requested to record. Constitutional stuff. So after the judge told me not to record, that's when she went ahead and did her unconstitutional stuff, which makes sense, right? That's what you do behind closed doors. So counsel for petitioner requests current orders remain in place. That means she wants to stay on supervised visitation, which is absolutely child abuse and hurting my son. And then it says counsel for respondent is heard. Really? What did he say? I mean, she said what the petitioner's counsel requested, but it doesn't say what my counsel requested. Great. Way to just erase that from the record completely. The matter is submitted. Nice use of passive voice. The court takes the matter under submission for ruling on today's minute order. Okay. So what does that mean? The Honorable Heidi Weldon was not going to tell us what her decision was. She just told us to go away. So we did. And then that's why it says, now at a later time, the court makes the following order. So there's not even a hearing going on anymore, and the court's just making orders. And here they are. The court inquired the reason why respondent had not filed a declaration in light of the local rules. And then what? It doesn't say what the response was? Why are you saying that you inquired the reason and then not giving what the reason was? It's very interesting why that's omitted from the record. But also, we submitted 2 declarations, actually. So I'm confused, but my lawyer's going to catch me up on that this week, I'm sure. But I remember we submitted 2 declarations, so I don't know what this honorable judge is talking about. Next, she says, the court finds that respondent failed to demonstrate that the current orders are not in the best interest of the child. Well, we didn't have a hearing on that. So nobody failed anything, actually. Right? I didn't fail. My attorney didn't fail. You literally shut him down, just like you've been shutting me down for 4 years. The respondent not having made a basis for an evidentiary hearing, the court denies the request for a Family Code 217 hearing for that reason. So, the basis is to see the evidence in this case. He mentioned the evidence that she's not allowing the phone calls. There's no contact between father and son now. But the Honorable Heidi Weldon didn't see that. Oh, I'm sorry, Heidi Wilden. Get her name right. The Honorable Heidi Wilden did not see any basis to look at any evidence. And there you have it. It's right there. She denied an evidentiary hearing. So that's pretty impressive resolution to, an issue. The judge effectively blocked all contact now at this point. Email from March 25th, 2025. Hi, Richard. Quick follow-up. Wanted to make sure you had my declaration to Michelle's request. Declaration in response to Michelle's request for supervised visitation. See, that I knew we filed a declaration, and look, here I am sharing it with Richard Lee, March 25th. The final exhibit further shows her willful contempt of court orders, denying Isaiah his calls with his dad and brother. Okay, so I'm giving Richard this evidence of her contempt, not doing the court-ordered calls on March 25th. Remember, he gives his report to the court at the end of June. Okay, so he knew in March. Okay, then again, look at in April 2025. I say, hi, Richard. The hearing was scheduled 4/7. We had to reschedule, but we didn't see your report. So, what happened? We need your report. What's up? And then on the 9th, he says he had it ready to file. But he learned the case would be continued. He says he waited to learn the new dates. He said, I may do some further work on the case before you go back to court in July. I'm not committing to that. But with the additional time I have available, I might. Okay? And then he says some other stuff. It's right here on the screen. You can read it if you want. I'm going to move on down. He's aware that he could update his report. Okay? That's the point. He's aware that he could update his report. Then we come down here and I tell him, okay, thanks. I'm copying my attorney. They need to get your report as soon as possible so we can formulate our legal strategy to protect my son's rights and well-being. Well, I said I do not have any new developments to report except that Michelle continues to refuse the court-ordered phone calls and will not respond to questions about scheduling the supervised visitation, even refusing to coordinate a visit for Isaiah to see his brother on his birthday. Thank you again for your time and diligence. Well, I have to retract these thanks, Richard, because you were not diligent, my friend. You omitted to mention at all that Michelle was refusing the court-ordered phone calls, and you were well informed of it. Here, this is April 16th, and you filed your report in June, at the end of June, so shame on you, sir. And, again, I said that she's not responding to my questions about scheduling the supervised visitation. That was in April. You put her claims all throughout the report, but my claim here is that she is not responding to my questions to schedule the visitation, and you conveniently left that out. All right, so let's take a look at Richard Lee's report dated June 29th, 2025. This is his report specifically to the judge of the Superior Court for the July 14th, 2025 hearing. And it is marked confidential, so I'm just going to be kind of careful with it. He says he's met with both the parents in their homes. He had a private conversation with our son at his mom's house. He talked to my other son briefly. He reviewed 9 reports from Marina PD, 3 reports from Seaside PD, and 3 reports from Monterey PD. Wow, that's a lot of reports. Well, I'll talk about those. And then he said he reviewed some of the documents that were previously filed and new ones since the time of the fact-based inquiry being assigned. So he's saying he's up to date. So this is really interesting. You'll see what he reports, even though he's fully up to date. I've filed, he says he read what I filed, all the updated stuff. So, I have attached evidence. The existing order is for supervised visitation. He sent this report June 29th, 2025. Okay? And he says, in this report, it says, as far as he knows, there have been no visits. And Mr. Norman and his son have communicated regularly with video conversations. And that's, that she's not doing the video calls. It's in the filings, and it's in the email to him. So how is it that he's saying, and there is regular video conversations? Wow, that's some sloppy work in terms of fact-finding. This is a long-form fact-based inquiry. And this guy is like absolutely wrong on basic facts, which we can prove. But anyways, the court's not interested in us proving that. The court just wanted this guy to make a report so it could use it. That's why, that's this guy's function, is he just provides reports to the court that it can use, like as a pretense to steal your kids. He mentions that I disagree with the idea that the supervised visitation is appropriate or necessary, and that I believe my son is a victim of child abuse on the part of the court. Good, thanks for relating that, because I do. And he says that I said that several times to him in emails, and that I commented that other families are carelessly destroyed by the court through its processes. Okay, so I appreciate the honesty, Richard. I did say that, but I'm like, why are you telling on me to the court now? Do you think that's going to help? Why is that in your report? How is it relevant? And this is funny. He says that he told me I should feel free to express my feelings. Thanks, Richard. It's like, feel free to express your feelings, and then we're going to use it against you and steal your kids. He said he talked to me about this idea that a person looking for battle presents differently than a person looking for peace, and that peace might be a better goal. I'm not looking for battle, Richard. I'm looking for peace. I've been begging for peace for years. What's wrong with you, man? And then he says he encouraged me to look toward the future and do what I can to alleviate the concerns on the part of everyone involved in order to promote, getting to an acceptable agreement in the best interest of our son. They don't have any legitimate concerns, Richard. I'm not doing anything wrong. And then he confirms that Mr. Norman, and I can't read you the exact words, but he's basically, saying that, like, I'm reluctantly coming around to the idea that I should focus on the future instead of the past. Then he says that when he met with her, he reviewed some of my comments about wanting to find ways to cooperate and build trust. And she said that she's skeptical. Like, she thinks I'm just being nice and cooperative to try to trick her. We both said that we know our son wants to spend time with his dad. And my son was very clear about that when he talked to this guy. Yeah, he said it's not fair that he doesn't get to see his dad and his brother. And he knows that his mom is the one that's the reason for that. It's true. This guy Richard Lee asked my son to explain why it's his mom's fault. And my son said, my dad said it's her fault because she's in charge. So see what he's doing now? He's still trying to get a hit in on me and make it look like I'm telling my son things I shouldn't be telling. When your son is like, Dad, why don't you come to see me? Why don't you call me? I'm not going to tell him, oh, well, that was my decision, son. That's not my decision, son. I want to do all those things. And your mom is 100% telling me I can't. And the court is 100% threatening me with guns and dungeon time. So yeah, that's the truth. It says here that there's like a lot of conflict in the case that our son has to witness. And he asked my son about seeing conflict between us, his mom and dad. And my son said he hasn't seen it. This is great. Richard asked him, what do you think is the most important thing that we should talk about? And my son says, we should talk about when I can go stay with my dad. Good boy. So Richard Lee, he says here in his report very clearly, he says that he told my son that the rules are made by the judge, not by his mom. So you see, they're trying to control the narrative. They're trying to control the idea in my son's head about who's actually making these rules, because they don't want him to know that his mom is driving all this abuse and the courts are helping. So Richard Lee goes to my son, at his house, and he's telling my son, no, your mom's not doing this. It's the judge. Who requested the orders from the judge, Richard? So Richard Lee is over there lying to my son. All right? My son's not buying it. He fired back at him again. He said, no, I know it's my mom. Piss off. She admits that she knows our son wants to see me. But she says she has significant concerns about what I tell him about her. And she has no confidence that I'll ever take any responsibility for my past actions. But will continue to tell all who will listen that the reason they have not been able to see each other are because of other people. But will continue to tell all who will listen that the reason they have not been able to see each other are because of other people. How dare you? How dare you? How dare anybody try to blame this on me? I have not done anything wrong here. My children are victims of these courts. Don't. And this is interesting. He visits my house here, and he says, Mr. Norman said that while there was not a bed in the apartment when I visited, that is his plan to get appropriate beds for the children. You might have mentioned that I just moved in, like that week, Richard. Yeah, both my sons said they love being with their dad. They said they're good friends, and they want to see each other. And then he says here that he wants to remind me that he doesn't offer opinions or conclusions about past conduct or future plans. And then he says, I had explained previously that he should not expect that kind of information to be in my report, opinions and conclusions. Why are you telling the court about this? Why? It doesn't make any sense. Why are you talking like about me in this way to the court? This information, this seems like something, if you wanted to clarify to me about what, my expectations are from your report, why don't you just talk to me? We have an email thread going. Why wouldn't you just say this to me? Why are you saying this about me to the court? Because obviously you're trying to influence the way the court sees me, and not in a very helpful way, I might add, Richard. So anyways, he does mention these police reports. He's got the 2019 one from Marina, which I've talked about. And in the report, this is in his report, he states that Michelle Baig stated that there was no physical altercation. Okay? It's right there. And that's what I've been telling this court. But she keeps telling the court there was a physical altercation. That's obviously a lie. If you just would, look into it, court, it's obviously a lie. Then on 8/5/2023, I reported a violation of the court order because what I said was that they had taken my son to San Diego, and the orders at that time prohibited any of us from traveling outside of the county or outside of certain counties. San Diego's not one of them. San Diego's a long way away on the border with Mexico, and she took him down there against the court orders. And in that police report, it says that I provided the officer with an audio clip of a conversation between my son and I, in which my son was talking about seeing a condor at the zoo, and that the child also said that he'd been told by his mother not to say anything about going to San Diego, or they would get in trouble. So we're talking about the San Diego Zoo. I guess on 9/3/2024, she reported that I was harassing her as part of the contact related to custody exchanges. Again, 11/15/2024. This is important. I'm the one who called to say that they were violating the custody order or the parenting plan. And then, of course, she fires back to say, well, he must be violating the DVRO, because that's what she says every single time, just in order to make things difficult for me, because now I have to defend against that. And it says that the report was forwarded to the DA's office for consideration of possible charges against both parents. Fuck you guys. It appears no charges were filed. Yeah, nice try, Marina PD. On 1/5, this is one of the times they're charging me with crime. On 1/5/2025, she reported that I had violated the custody order, failing to bring our son to the specific exchange location. And I said I wanted to meet somewhere else. He mentions the message thread, and then he says that I said the police were corrupt, and I'll be suing them. And it's interesting because if he read the messages, like, why not mention that we never actually agreed to meet? It's just a stupid, absolute waste of my time, taxpayer funds. And I mean, they're letting the government just like harass innocent people. That's not okay. This is going to be the stupidest trial in history. Like, anybody who just reads the messages can see that I didn't agree to bring him back on the 5th. I said I would bring him back to her on the 5th if we could meet somewhere other than Marina PD, but she never agreed to meet anywhere other than Marina PD. So there wasn't an agreement, and anybody who just reads the messages can see that. There are very clear rules to making agreements, okay? And you might want to look into that before you go accusing people of making agreements and then breaking them and calling that a crime. Don't be an idiot. All right? But they insist on being idiots. All right, so then on 1/17, I reported that she wasn't bringing him, and the report states that they showed up late, so that's nice. Thanks. Then on 2/24, okay, here's another one. She's charging me a crime. It says that she reported I was violating the restraining order with messages threatening, not brief, and off topic. This is going to be good. The report was forwarded to the Monterey County District Attorney's Office for consideration of charges, and they decided to charge it. So we're actually going to have a trial. They're actually going to, arrest me and completely destabilize my life once again. And they're going to do that because my messages are claimed to be threatening, not brief, and off topic. So yeah, those are the crimes. Text messages, that's right. That's what it says. He mentioned the time in Seaside back in 2022, and where she accuses me of trying to hit her with my car. And all he says is that I denied doing it. It's obvious that he's just kind of shading this information to like look bad on me. That's what they do. That's what they get paid for. Another time, it's got her calling the police and insisting that I let our son walk 50 feet through a parking lot. And at least they report accurately here that I said, I'm only going to do exactly what the court orders say. And that's not what the court orders say. So, am I in trouble for that? Yeah, then he talks about the 2016 incident. And interestingly, I mean, he gives a detailed account of what was reported to have happened that is shaded to favor her a bit. But he fails to mention the statement of the witness, Mary Lawson, who said that Michelle told her that she had hit me. That's significant, man. There was a witness that was corroborating my story. So for you to omit that from the narrative and then shade it to look like, maybe I'm not telling the truth, that's dishonest, sir. Yeah. He even quotes here me saying, I'm on my way, as a threat. Well, I was on the way to pick up my son. It was time to pick him up. I was coming to pick him up, so I said, I'm on my way. And he's here just quoting it like completely out of context. Like, I'm on my way. I'm coming to get you. Give me a break, Richard. Can you give me a break, man? Laying it on a little thick here, buddy. You missed it. You really missed an opportunity to help kids and to help a family. And to show me that this court is actually a legitimate institution that has the well-being of children in mind and not just, power and the disenfranchisement of fatherhood throughout the United States. It's like something the enemy of the American people would do if he wanted to destroy them internally. You guys know anything about that? Okay, so as you can see, it is a fairly detailed report, albeit inaccurate. But still, there's a lot there, and none of it's mentioned in the minute order. Why? Because we did not actually review that report at that hearing like this judge says we did. That didn't actually happen. There was no due process. There was some sort of process, definitely some sort of process going on there, but it's not due process. And not only is that unconstitutional, but that means all your orders are invalid. And men, this is what you can expect in the family courts in California. Please be warned. Sometimes women too. And the question is, is it actually okay for the state to abuse families in the name of the people like this? I'm asking you people, the people of the state of California, is it okay? I'm one of the people. It's not okay with me. Is it okay with you?